What's up? It's your boy Kazi. Welcome to Kazi Plays. I'm gonna be showing you guys how to play Cyclops aka Scott Summers in today's guide. So without further ado, let's get into it. To start things off, let's first talk about his role. Cyclops is a DPS aka duelist that specializes in long range attacks and has really high mobility. So with that being said, dive characters like Spidey or Black Panther are going to have a bit of a harder time catching him with how quick his movement is. He is also a hit scan character, which means that when you press the button, his attacks land as soon as you press the button, whereas a character like, for example, Squirrel Girl, when you press the button, they have a bit of travel time before the shot hits the enemy. He also has a really high damage output, which will make tanks think twice before getting too close to your team. And most importantly, yes, he does have a 2-star difficulty, but I do want y'all to keep in mind that yes, he is easy, but he isn't Scarlet Witch level easy, which means that in order for you to get the most value out of him, you're going to need to be able to hit your shots. Up next, let's go over his abilities. Cyclops has 2 primary attacks, with the first one being a blast that does quick shots, while the second one is a beam that can ricochet off of enemies and off of any platform. His first ability, he ricochets beams off of platforms or enemies to deal a quick amount of damage, and using either of your primary attacks makes the ricochet ability come back faster. His next ability, he uses his beam to push himself back, and also it pushes the enemy back while dealing a bit of damage to them. But there are 2 different versions of this ability. You can either tap it quickly for a short dash, or you can hold it and get a longer dash. And yes, you can use this ability in any direction that you want. His next ability, he shoots a beam at the ground to push himself up in the air, and yes, you can combo it with the other dash as well. He also has a passive that as long as he's using the beam in the air, he will float. And yes, it doesn't have to be just the beam that shoots up at the ground. He can also use the dash, or even if you use one of the bounce pads, it will still count. It's just as long as he's in the air. And finally, his ultimate, he shoots out a giant laser that's followed up by a bunch of explosions that deal most of the damage. And yes, this ultimate does have a bunch of range to this. This ultimate also does damage percentage, and what that means is that with tanks, it will barely leave them alive, but with most DPS and support characters, they will get one-shotted. Wolverine also gets a team up with Cyclops, where it buffs the damage of his regular attacks, and also he gets a Beyblade. And yes, you can use this in any direction, and it does have a good bit of distance to it. Before we move on, if you have made it this far into the video and want to dive further into the community, I do got a Discord link in the description below. There we talk about Marvel Rivals, anime, manga, and whatnot, so if you're interested, feel free to stop by. I would love to have you. Up next, let's go over his Crosshair. Now with Cyclops, I went for something a little basic because the default Crosshair that he has puts way too much clutter on the screen and it's hard to see your enemies. So I went for a small cross that's big enough just to cover the enemy's head, so you'll be able to get those precise shots in. Here are the settings for the Crosshair that I am using on him. Feel free to go ahead and pause the video at any time so you can go ahead and copy these settings down. And finally, let's go over his playstyle. In neutral, you want to mostly be behind your tanks or off to the side, taking off angles to see if you can pick off the enemy's support or DPS. And also, if they are running shield tanks, with how much of a high damage output that Cyclops has, you should also try burning away at their shield to make it an easier time for your team to push up. Speaking of shields, this is a really good time when you want to use your ricochet ability. For example, let's say the enemy's invisible woman, you shot her down and she's really low, but the enemy's Strange puts up his shield to protect her. You can use that ricochet ability and aim at like one of the walls behind where you know the invisible woman's at, and more likely than not, it will hit her and finish the kill if you're quick enough with it. The ricochet ability is also really good to finish off divers as well. For example, like if a Spidey's going around trying to get your support, you get them low and they try to run away, you can pop that ricochet ability to hit them before they get too far and finish the kill. Also, if you see the enemy team is grouped up a lot together, you do want to use your beam as much as possible, because yes, the ricochet ability can hit multiple enemies, but so can your beam as well if they are close enough. Going up in the air using your beam to rain down on the enemies is a good idea on paper, but I wouldn't recommend using it all the time, because if they are running hit scan characters, you're just gonna get deleted. Also, with enough practice, if you are on a map where there is a pit and you see an enemy close to there, you can use your dash ability to push them off the map. But just be careful to not push yourself off the map as well. Cyclops is also one of those characters that Jeff can't spit off the map, because if you don't know already, with Jeff players, if they aim directly down into the void, when they spit people off, they don't have time to react. But Cyclops, on the other hand, if you do pay attention and time it right, you can use your dash to get out of there and potentially push Jeff off. When it comes to figuring out the best time to pop Cyclops ultimate, it is a bit tricky, because keep in mind that enemies, they don't get stunned or anything. They can just walk to the side and avoid taking damage from the explosions where most of the damage is at. The lasers, they do some damage, but it's not that much to the point where you'll die if you're over half HP. So with that being said, your best chance to get the ult off is to do it in a small area, because yes, they could try to move out of the way from it, but if they don't have that much room to begin with, where are they gonna go? However, in my personal opinion, this ultimate is best used when comboed with an ability that stuns the enemy. For example, like Groot ult, Strange ult, or even Think ultimate. Those are ultimates that hold an enemy down, so you'll be able to get the kills. Also, technically speaking, with Cyclops ultimate, you can use shields on it. It's just only after the laser part, because the laser part is what takes off the shield. So for example, if you're on a character like Mag and you don't have time to move out of the way before the explosion hits, save your bubble until after the laser and then you'll be fine. And that's everything on how to play Cyclops. If I left something out or you did discover something new, feel free to put it in the comments below to show everyone else to help each other out. But yeah, if you do want more Marvel Rivals on the channel, why don't you go and support your boy. I'll go and catch y'all in the next one. Y'all take it easy.